Hey there, guys. So I had to redo my stream because my audio wasn't working. So I'm still going to go through the same topic um, as far as bulking versus cutting. So I apologize. For some reason, the audio didn't go through the first time. So I'm going to go back through it because there's no sound on the other video. So we're just going to go back through the same topic here. So again, before I get started, I do want to mention my website. It's bponlinefitness.com. If you do want to learn a little bit more about online coaching, as far as everything I have to offer, you can also sign up for my email newsletter there. You can book your spot, schedule a consultation there. And I have a ton of great and free information that you can check out there. But let's go ahead and get started with talking about our topic today. So, what we're going to be discussing is bulking versus cutting and if it's necessary for muscle gain. So, these are a few things we're going to go over today. Of course, we're going to do an introduction, going to understand what bulking is, understand the benefits of bulking, understand what cutting is, and understanding the benefits of cutting as well, and which is more beneficial for muscle gain. And also, a side note, I do have another point that I'm going to mention, which talks a little bit about the downsides of bulking and cutting and things of that nature. So there's one other point that I do want to make there that I don't have mentioned in my table of contents here. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's sort of do an introduction and explain what we're talking about today. So bulking and cutting are two popular strategies for maximizing muscle growth. We'll explore the principles behind each approach and discuss their benefits and considerations. So the first thing we're going to discuss is understanding bulking. So, bulking basically refers to a phase in bodybuilding or strength training where an individual consumes more calories than their body expends in order to support muscle growth and increase overall body mass. So, this phase is typically followed by a period of cutting where the goal is to reduce body fat while maintaining muscle mass. Bulking requires consuming more calories than your body burns through daily activities and exercise. So this surplus provides the extra energy needed to support muscle growth. So bulking is basically being in a calorie surplus. It's another term for a calorie surplus. So a calorie surplus is of course consuming more calories than you expend. And the reason being is this is help to build that muscle mass while also again still focusing on reducing body fat. Now, the way that you do that, you have to be strategic with your bulking. You do have to choose healthy options in your diet. Despite you consuming more calories, you do need to focus on your macronutrients, which is your carbs, your fats, and your protein. So, despite that, you do need to keep that in mind because it's not just about consuming a ton of food, it's also about being mindful of what you're consuming and consuming lean options. So, again, bulking is just consuming more calories than your body burns through daily activity. So, another term, of course, is that calorie surplus. So, keep that in mind. And again, that's going to help to help support that muscle growth. So, benefits of bulking. Bulking involves consuming, of course, more calories than your body burns, creating a caloric surplus. So, this surplus provides the energy needed for muscle growth, repair, and recovery after intense workouts. So, with a caloric surplus and sufficient protein intake, your body has the resources it needs to synthesize new muscle tissue. So, this results in increased muscle size and strength over time. Having more calories and nutrients from bulking can also support heavier lifting in the gym. As a result, you're likely to experience a greater strength gain during the bulking phase, which can contribute to overall muscle development. So, one thing I usually mention to my clients when I discuss, talking about bulking or being in a calorie surplus in general, is to really prioritize your protein intake. And the reason why I mention that is that protein intake is very essential to helping to repair and build muscle. And when you have a high protein intake, it's also you're going to have your calories up, yes, with protein intake, but it's also going to help you stay full longer when you increase your protein intake. So keep that in mind. But again, protein is very essential when it comes to building muscle and for muscle growth and repair. So again, there's a lot of different benefits, but you do want to be strategic with how you pursue bulking because you do need to have healthy options in your diet and you do need to really track your nutrition. And I'm going to mention that, of course, sort of at the end here on why it's so important to track nutrition. So, what is cutting? So, understanding cutting in the context of bodybuilding and fitness refers to the phase during which individuals aim to reduce body fat while preserving muscle mass. So, cutting typically involves or follows a bulking phase where the primary goal was to increase muscle size and strength. So, what are the various benefits of cutting? So, body fat percentage. With cutting, we're basically doing the opposite of bulking, of course. So, we're more in a calorie deficit than a surplus. So, body fat percentage. Cutting helps to decrease body fat percentage, leading to a leaner and more defined physique. This can enhance muscle definition and create a more aesthetically pleasing appearance. So, better health markers. Losing excess body fat can improve various health markers, including blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and blood sugar control. Lowering body fat levels is associated with reduced risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. So there's a bunch of different benefits when it comes to cutting. So just keep in mind that with cutting, you do still need to be mindful, of course, of what you're intaking. And you do still need to have some protein in your diet to help with that muscle repair and growth. But cutting is basically helping to reduce that body fat. That's primarily what you're focusing on when you're going into a cutting phase. So just keep that in mind. And then there's a lot of different health benefits that come with this. So, which method is more beneficial for muscle gain? So, determining whether bulking or cutting is more beneficial for muscle gain depends on various factors. It depends on what your specific goal is and body composition and of course your training experience. So during a bulking phase, the body is in a more anabolic state characterized by higher levels of muscle building hormones such as testosterone and insulin-like growth factors. So the hormonal environment is conducive to muscle growth and recovery. So keep that in mind. Now, despite being in a calorie deficit, individuals can preserve muscle mass through proper nutrition. Adequate protein intake and resistance training by maintaining muscle mass while losing fat, the relative proportion of muscle to fat in the body improves, resulting in a leaner physique. So keep in mind that both of these can be beneficial for muscle gain either way. But what you're wanting to particularly focus on is sort of dependent on you and your goals. So if you're really wanting to focus on muscle mass and to really gain more strength, I would say bulking is more of where you need to be. Whereas with cutting is more where you're focusing on still preserving that lean muscle mass, but at the same time cutting back in order to help to decrease body fat. So again, it's just dependent on your goals where you need to primarily focus your calorie intake on. Do you want to be in a surplus or do you want to be in a deficit? Do you want to lose more body fat or do you want to gain more muscle? It's just dependent on you. So, are there any downsides to bulking or cutting? So, while both bulking and cutting have their own benefits for achieving a specific fitness goal, they also come with potential downsides and considerations. So, one of the primary challenges of cutting is the risk of losing lean muscle mass, along with fat. So, especially if the caloric deficit is too large, or if protein intake and resistance training are not sufficient to support muscle retention, this can result in a less desirable body composition and may compromise strength and athletic performance. So, even being in a cutting phase, you still need to be on top of your nutrition. You still need to be aware of what you're intaking, your protein intake. You still need to be, doing resistance training. You still need to monitor what you're doing, basically. So, keep in mind that, that's a downside. You do need to monitor what you're doing in order to stay on track towards your goal. So that's something really primarily with cutting is that you do need to still have adequate protein intake and you do still need to have the proper nutrition. You just don't need to go, over what you were before. If you were from in a bulking phase, you were in a calorie surplus, you're just doing directly opposite. However, you're still wanting to focus on, preserving that muscle mass by having a balance in what your nutrition intake is. So just keep that in mind, that it's all about tracking. And this one thing that I mention to my clients all the time is that tracking is extremely important to reaching your goal. And another thing when it comes to tracking is it's really giving you a roadmap and really allowing you to see sort of your progress and seeing what changes you may need to make to your diet. If you may be consuming more calories and you should be in deficit, or if you're consuming less calories and you should be in a surplus, you're able to see that when you're tracking your nutrition daily. And that's something I do myself. I always track my nutrition, always monitor sort of my macros and where I'm at. And see, with me, I'm primarily focusing on bulking because I'm wanting to gain more muscle mass. And that's sort of what I focus on. So I'm always making sure that I have a high calorie intake. So, again, really a lot of it revolves around being able to keep track of your nutrition and really just focusing on that daily. So, that's all I have for you guys today. I apologize for the first video. I didn't have the audio going, and that was my fault. So I decided that I was going to redo it because I felt like this is a really important topic, and I didn't want to just, not do a separate video on it or not re-record it. So I apologize for the audio issue in the first stream that I did, but it should be fixed now, and I will have this video uploaded to where you can check it out. But I hope that you guys found this helpful and valuable. I hope that you have, got a good amount of information from this and that you were able to sort of take notes and understand sort of the difference between the two. And that's what I wanted to do, is to really sort of dissect these terms when it comes to fitness, when it comes to, hearing the term bulking, cutting, you have all these terms, and sometimes it can be hard to really understand, what they mean. So that's what I wanted to do with these streams. So again, guys, you can check out my website for all information related to my online fitness coaching. You can schedule your consultation there if you scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on book your spot or book my spot. And you can get your consultation scheduled and we can discuss your goals. You can also sign up for the email newsletter for free. You can check that out. You can look at the fitness blog. If you go at the top right corner of the page and it's the hamburger button or the three lines, you go up there to the top right and you click on fitness blog in the drop down. There's a ton of different posts that I have there on various nutrition and health related topics, so you can check that out as well. But thank you guys again, and I will see you guys, of course, in the next live stream next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time as always. But I will see you guys again next time. Thank you.